everybody. It's good to see you today. My name is Allie Rogers-Andreen, and you are here with me to create some confetti. I am just going to start off by showing y'all a little bit of my artwork. I'm a practicing artist in the DFW area. Usually I do interactive installations that people can come and play together and have fun and be creative together. Obviously today is a little bit different, but I am going to show y'all some things that you can do at home with supplies you probably have lying around somewhere in the dark, dusty corner, so that you can make something fun and bright to play with throughout your day. But first I'm going to start by showing you some of my work, like I said, that I'm working on right now. Alright, so I just want to show y'all these two little guys right here. These are leftover from an installation that I did with my friends at Sunset Art Studios in Oak Cliff many years ago. I had a station full of little personal bags of confetti. You might recognize these from like a birthday party that you went to when you were little. I just used all sorts of scrap materials, tissue paper, ribbons, things like that. Cut them up real small into my own special confetti mix. And then I put instructions on them because I thought it would be fun. So every bag had a different set of instructions for use. So this one says throw in case of emergency. So it's your emergency confetti that you keep with you. Keep it in your pocket, keep it in your bag for a rainy day. And this one, the instruction says throw and save one piece. So sometimes it makes me sad to throw my confetti because it means that it has to go away, has to go in the garbage. But if you can just save one little piece, then you can have a memory of that happiness, that joy of throwing fun things into the air and dancing with it. And so those kind of started me thinking about what confetti looks like in the art world. When we're making, big important work, what can it look like to make something fun like this? I also have some confetti. This is also confetti. It may surprise you to see. It looks pretty big, but it's confetti. It's really lightweight. And this is made with leftover supplies from my wedding. So leftover pink raffia, and this has like some magnets and some embroidery floss, and there's one that has receipts in it because I love the idea of continuing the celebration after the celebration is over. So I've been working on that too. Most recently, I've been working on giant bags of confetti, and this is what we're going to be adding to today as well. So you can see that right now, this bag is full of kind of blobs of sewn together tulle and different lightweight fabrics. And so I'm going to be adding more of that today. My goal someday is to have this whole bag completely full of confetti. How much fun would that be? All right, so we are going to transition, and I'm going to have you help me make some confetti today. Okay, so we're gonna start making our handmade confetti with something that I love to do when I have extra weird trashy paper lying around. We all have it. If you have newspaper, if you have tissue paper, leftover, scrapbooking paper, whatever you have, get it out, put it on your table, and use some paint on it. I have some watercolors right here. And then I also have this stuff called gouache, which I'm mostly gonna be using today. It is like acrylic paint. So if you also have acrylic paint or tempera paint, any kind of paint, heck, you could use food coloring on this. So I'm just going to lay out my trashy paper right here and move my water. So I have a water cup, a palette, a sponge, a few types of brushes, and my paint. And then this is old kind of stained paper, which will be perfect for this job. So I'm deciding on my color palette, and I think that I'm going to use some light blue, and I'm gonna use some of this really, really bright yellow. So I'm gonna squeeze a little bit out onto my very messy palette. Look at this thing. I need to clean it off at some point. Just gonna squeeze some out. A little dab will do ya at first. And I'm gonna squeeze some of my blue out. That's a pretty blue. And then I'm also going to squeeze out some white. I have a bigger tube of white because I use a lot of it. So, I'm going to squeeze a dollop of that out. And these are maybe about dime-sized dollops of paint right here that I'm using. So I'm gonna choose a brush. And I have a few different kinds right here that I can show you. First, you can probably see I have a big old painter brush like you would use to paint your walls. This is for doing big, huge areas of color all at once, okay? I think everyone has probably seen one of these before. This is a sponging brush. Not always great for every kind of painting, but really fun if you want to do some dabbing textures, and really great for little hands to use. And then I have some smaller brushes. I have kind of a fluffy white one. I have a flat, delicate one, and I have like a detail brush for if we want to get really detailed. So I have lots of options. And then I also have a wooden stick. So I can use this to make polka dots or draw into my paint if we want. So stop talking, Allie. Let's just get started. I'm gonna choose my small fluffy brush first, get it wet in my water, and I'm gonna start by picking up just some white gouache, and I'm gonna spread it all around. Spread, spread, spread. Spread, 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 because I want a nice layer. I want a nice base layer of white, and I want to get the paper in that area kind of wet, okay? So I have this translucent, that means you can kind of see through it, layer of white. And some places it's thicker and dry, and some places it's wetter because I wet my brush before I put it down. You can do whatever you want. You do not need to recreate exactly what I'm doing. Now I'm putting some blue on, and look at that beautiful blue. I love it so much. And now I'm just gonna kind of zigzag it out. I'm gonna fluff it out. This paper already had kind of a blue paint stain on it, and so I'm gonna work with that a little bit. I'm gonna highlight it a little bit. I'm gonna go around it so that people really notice it, because that's gonna look really cool when we cut the paper up a little later. So we're just painting, 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 and I'm gonna keep filling my space. The goal is to fill the entire piece of paper, all right? So take your time, don't think about it too much. Ooh, that yellow is like a highlighter. I don't know if y'all can see that. That is going to be fun. You wanna make sure that every little part of your paper has something interesting going on, because we're gonna cut this into small pieces and strips. You'll notice that I've picked two colors that mix together really well. Well, three colors that mix together really well. The white paint is going to tint our paint. It's going to make it lighter. And then the two hues that I've chosen, the yellow and the blue, will mix together and they'll make green. Sometimes you have to be careful with the colors that you choose to mix together. Because, for example, if I chose pink and green at the same time, if you mix those together, they're gonna turn all muddy and brown and gray and weird. And maybe you want that color. Maybe you really want that weird gray color. But I don't today. Today I'm focusing on yellows and blues. So I'm just gonna keep laying some stuff down. And now I have a good area right here, and I think I'm gonna swirl all the color out of my brush. I'm gonna lay it down nicely. And now I'm gonna choose a different one. I'm gonna choose my good old trusty sponge brush. I'm gonna get it a little bit wet. The challenge with this kind of brush is that it soaks things up because it's a sponge. So you need to get it wet first, otherwise it's gonna eat all of your paint up. It's just gonna gobble it away, okay? So, and now I'm using it to do some kind of splotchy, weird polka dots. Just splotching things all over the place, like this. There we go. Wonderful. I'm not thinking too hard about where I'm placing my splotches. I am not judging myself when I do a messier splotch or a better splotch. I'm just splotching because it's fun. And then I'm gonna go in with some white and do some splotches in between, and maybe strike through some splotches like that. The more layers you do, the better this is gonna look. The more you experiment, the better this is gonna look. This is the kind of painting that I really like to do when I am feeling some writer's block, when I'm feeling some artist block, when I feel like I have run out of ideas and I'll never have another good idea again in the world. I just come and paint some paper, and it feels so nice and gives me lots of freedom. Okay, I'm gonna kind of squeegee my brush out a little bit, and I've run out of paint, and so I'm going to add a little more. And since I already have some beautiful, see where the yellow and the blue is mixing together, we have this amazing fluorescent green happening. And we have strong yellow here, we have lots of blue, we still have some strong areas of white. Now I'm gonna go all in on the green, and I'll just add some pure bright green to the mix. Put it out on my palette, just a little bit at a time. You can always add more, but you don't want to squeeze out a whole bunch of paint at once, because you can't put it back in the tube and it'll dry out and you'll waste it. And then I'm gonna put a little more yellow too. And once I'm finished with these colors, we're gonna set it aside to dry and move on. So I'm taking my teeny tiny detail brush right here. Usually I use this to do like lettering or drawing or outlines or teeny tiny flecks. So I'm gonna do that same thing here. I'm just gonna draw some wiggle squiggles. And again, I'm not judging myself if it's not a perfect wiggle squiggle. I'm just gonna wiggle and squiggle. It's what I like to do. And now I'm gonna pick up a little bit of yellow and mix it in with my green so it gets a little bit lighter and brighter. Ooh, that is light and bright. That is fluorescent. Wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna do some more wiggle squiggles right here. I think the wiggle squiggles complement the layer of color that I've just put down very nicely. And you'll notice here, you may notice that when I painted through some paint that was still wet, it my brush picked up some of that color and it made it blend in with the rest of the background. This is called wet on wet technique, because I'm taking my wet paint and I'm painting it on top of more wet paint. And what that is going to do is when it all dries, people are gonna have a hard time figuring out what's on top and what's on bottom. It's gonna create some mystery. And that's the secret to most great artwork. You need a little mystery. So I'm gonna keep wiggle squiggling. And then, usually I recommend that you use your big brush at the beginning and then you put it away. But I'm gonna use it right now. I'm a rule breaker today. So I'm gonna get my big old fat brush nice and wet. I'm gonna dip it in the rest of my paint and really load it up. And you'll see I've picked up the yellow on one side and the green on the other in hopes that we'll have kind of a gradient effect. Okay, this is the part where we have to be brave and trust in the process, because I already like what we have going on, but we could make something better. That's fun. Okay, I'm gonna do it again. Wiggle, squiggle, wiggle, squiggle, wiggle, squiggle. Perfect. Exactly. So you see how I had to be brave, because I could ruin what I already had, but I don't think I did. I think it just added some more fun. And then I'm even gonna drag through and blend it down a little bit. And that's that. That's where I'm gonna leave it. So I'm gonna put this to the side, and you put your painted paper to the side, and we'll let it dry, and then we'll revisit it in a minute. Okay, so now we're gonna switch gears a little bit. We've done some painted paper. We're going to get to more paper cutting and folding and stuff, but one of my favorite ways to make confetti as of late has been to do a little bit of sewing. Don't worry, don't be nervous. You've never sewed before. That's okay, I'm gonna show you how. This is my sewing basket. It kind of looks like a picnic basket, but it's plastic. So fun. So I'm gonna go inside and I'm going to choose some thread. This is embroidery floss. You can use any kind of thread you want. I have regular sewing thread in here that is a lot thinner. The strand is a lot thinner. You can use embroidery thread, you can use yarn. Whatever kind of thread you might have laying around your house will work just fine for this, okay? So you're gonna need some thread. You're going to want a sewing needle. This is the part where if you need to get some parent or guardian permission, you should get permission before you go looking for sewing needles and scissors and stuff, okay? Do this with a grown-up. So you'll want a needle. This is an embroidery needle, and you'll notice it's pretty long. It has a sharp tip, and the eye of the needle, which is the little hole right here, it's not big, if that makes sense. It's fairly small and it's about the same size as the rest of the needle, and that's gonna be important because the bigger the eye is, the harder it is to pull the needle through the fabric. Okay, so you want a small eye if you can take it. You're gonna want some scissors, and I think that's about it for now. Oh, and you're gonna want some fabric. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna tell you that I'm a little bit weird and I save all of my, whenever I get a present from someone, like a gift bag or anything like that, I always save everything that comes with it. Some of you may do that too. Like I save my wrapping paper and my ribbons and all the like tissue paper. I save all of it because it comes in handy for things like this. So this is some tulle fabric. And it is really sheer. It's like a netting, and you've probably seen this if you've ever seen a ballerina in her tutu. That's what this is usually made of because it's very light and flowy like this. So I have some blue tulle, and I have some pink tulle, dusty, and I have a stowaway feather inside my pink tulle. Where are you? Come here. Well, that's fun for confetti too. Stowaway feather. If you have some fabric lying around and it's lightweight like this, it'll be perfect for confetti. I also have this gift bow that is actually just tulle ribbon, and it's extra fun because it has wire in it so that it holds a shape. So if you have any fun, weird gift wrap bows, perfect use for this. This is another kind of gift wrap bow that you may see around. It's like a tube of netting. Fun and weird and makes funny shapes. And then last but not least, I have this mystery bag. And I have some shiny trim and some packing peanuts. And these are silk flowers that have long since fallen off the stem. But so now I'm left with the fabric flowers. So I have all of these materials and now I need to decide what to do. And I think what I'm gonna do is I want to make like a big round pocket to fit some of these fun things inside, all right? So I'm gonna take some of my tulle fabric, and I don't need all of it. You don't need a whole lot of it. So I'm going to cut like that. Again, if you are not allowed to use scissors by yourself, please get an adult to help you with this part. You'll see nothing is exact, and there's even kind of a big hole in this, and that is okay. We are using what we have today. And then I'm gonna get some of my blue, and I'm gonna get a little more of the blue than I am of the pink. And snip. See, very exact here, lots of measuring. Okay, so I have cut my blue tulle and I have cut my pink tulle. And now I'm gonna kind of bunch up my pink. And if you'll notice, when I hold my tulle stretched out like this, it's really a light color. You can almost probably barely see it. But the more I bunch it up, the pinker it gets, because all of those little layers of fabric are folding in on themselves and they're blocking out more of the light. So I want this to be very pink, so I'm gonna ball it up and put it right in the middle of my blue tulle. And then I am going to start kind of rolling it up. So I'm not gonna put it in the middle of my tulle, I'm gonna put it at the very end. And I'm just gonna roll it like a little burrito a few times. See, okay, so now I have something that looks like this. And I have my pink tulle floating around like an amoeba inside of my blue tulle. But I want to add some more interest to this big weird piece of confetti. And so I'm going to choose some packing peanuts, and I'm going to put those inside. And I think I'm going to cut some of this silver trim, because I want something shiny. It's confetti, it needs to be shiny. And I'm just going to lay that inside. Doesn't have to be perfect. And why not? I'll put my stowaway feather inside. And I'm gonna keep rolling, because it's a confetti burrito. Okay, so now it looks like this. So I have my blue, I have a layer of pink, and then I have my layer of other weird things inside. My packing peanuts, my feather, and my silver trim. Okay, and I think I like the way that looks. And so I have all this extra right here. I'm just gonna kind of fold it under so it all makes this rectangular package. And now is where we start to sew, okay? I have my package, it's ready to go. So I'm going to take my thread, and I don't need a whole lot of it. So usually I take about an arm's length of thread, because that's about as much as you can manage at one time without just pulling it and tangling it and getting it all in knots. So I'm gonna pull it to an arm's length, safely cut it. And I'm going to make a knot in one end, and that is always the part that is the hardest for people. Okay, so we're a little closer on my fingers, and I'm gonna show you how to make a knot. And this takes some practice, so don't worry if it's a little challenging. I have the end of my thread right here. I'm going to pinch it between my pointer finger and my thumb. And then I'm going to wrap it around my pointer finger and pinch it back between my thumb. So you should have like a little circle around your finger. It's like you're trying to tie it up. And here's the weird part. You are going to, let's see, roll this loop between your fingers. Roll, roll, roll. Okay. So then you should have a little loop like this that has all of these tangles on one side of it. And then you pull and you have a little knot, okay? So if that flew right by you a little bit, that's okay, that's understandable. You can pause this video, rewind a little bit, and watch it over and over again until you pick it up. That is the best way that I have found to make a knot. And now I'm gonna thread my needle. The best way to thread a needle that I have found to this day is still to get it a little bit moist. You can either kind of put it between your lips a little bit and get it just slightly moist. You can just run it through your fingers a few times, like pinch it between your fingers, and then your finger oils will make the tip a little stiffer. Or if you are really an overachiever and you have some beeswax around, you can kind of rub this on some beeswax and get it nice and stiff. So once you have a point, you're gonna thread the needle. You're gonna poke it right through the eye of the needle. And even someone like me who has been sewing for many years still has to try it a few times before I finally get it, okay? And I got it. If you have trouble seeing something this small, no judgment, there is a special tool called a needle threading tool that you can get at any craft store, and I'll kind of show you how it works. There's this silver part, and that's the part you hold on to, and then there is a wire needle part. You're gonna shove that. You still have to shove it through the eye of the needle, so you still have to be able to see that. But you're gonna shove it through the eye of the needle. And then you're going to put your thread through that you're gonna put it through the threader tool because it's a bigger hole, so it's a little easier to get it through. And then you're going to pull the threader tool back through the eye of the needle, and it'll thread it for you. Whatever is easiest for you to get it done is how you should do it. No judgment here. Okay, so that was the hardest part of this. The rest is gonna be pretty easy. You're going to decide, like, basically I just wanna sew this together so that I can bunch it up a little bit and so that all of my fun things won't fall out the sides. So I am just going to, very messily, bring my needle up through all the layers of my fabric, of my blue fabric, bring it up. Make sure that my knot catches, okay? And then I'm going to do what's called a running stitch, which is just an up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So I have this bunched up on my needle and now I'm gonna pull it all the way through. Okay? So now this side is closed and I'm just gonna keep doing my running stitch. So I am now up. It's kind of like a dolphin going through the water. Now I'm up, down, up, down. These do not need to be small stitches. You'll see I'm picking up like an inch of fabric every time I go down. Down, up, down, up, down, up, and pull. And if you want to pull tight, it makes it nice and scrunchy. And if you want it more spread out, you can keep it more spread out, but I like it scrunchy, so I'm gonna do that. So now I'm up and I'm gonna go down, up, down, up, down, up until I get to the very end. Oh my goodness, I'm tying a knot. Here we go. Hey, look at that. I have a fun, weird piece of confetti. It's kind of like mega confetti at this point. And now we need to tie another knot. The best way I have found to do that is to take my needle and make a small stitch in and out right at the last place where my needle came up. So one, and then I'm gonna try to stitch in the exact same place. Okay, two, and I'm gonna do one more just for safety. Same stitch in the same spot, and it should be getting a little harder to pull your needle through too. Three, and that will hold it, okay? And then I snip my extra, and now I have some fun stuffed confetti. And I'll just show you really quick what I'm going to do with this stuff that doesn't require any sewing. And you could do this with ribbons or strips of cloth, anything like that. See, I've cut 2 strips. In this case, it's a strip of my silver and a strip of my pink. And I'm just gonna tie them in a knot. Just a simple overhand knot. So crossing over and then pulling through. And that's a piece of confetti too. All right. So now I have 2 pieces of confetti that I get to add to my bag. Boop. All right, so we are here with what I think many people consider the most like traditional form of confetti. If I say we're working with confetti, then they probably think about paper, right? Paper, little scraps of fun, you know, shiny materials. So I just went through my cabinets and found some different kinds of paper to use. Like I said, I always save tissue paper from every present that I get ever. And so I brought some tissue paper from a present. I brought some wrapping paper of mine. Of course we have our painted paper right here that we just made. So make sure you've let yours dry and then come back to use it. I also have some of these interesting little leftover neon colored paper shapes. I can't remember what project I bought these for. It's fine. They're scrap now, so I get to use them how I want them. I have also pulled some colorful pens and markers, just in case I want to add a little va-va-voom to anything. And I have some leftover crepe paper party streamers that I thought would make some fun confetti. So take a minute, look around your house, see what you have. You probably have plenty, but if nothing else, you have your painted paper, right? Okay. I also have some rubber cement. You can use school glue. And this is just in case you want to glue any two papers together, obviously, so that they're different on each side. While we're making things, I may decide to do that. Or you can use some tape. You can use anything in the kitchen sink to make your confetti. So I'm going to start by actually just cutting some strips from our painted paper. Again, using my scissors. And again, if you do not have permission to use scissors by yourself, this is the part where you ask a grown-up for help. So I'm gonna start off cutting off my excess paper that doesn't have any paint on it. And then I'm gonna make really long strips. So you could make short strips by cutting vertically this way. Or you can make really long strips by cutting vertically this way. And that's what I'm gonna do. Now, I don't want this video to be 5 hours long. So what I'm going to do to save a little bit of time is to double up my cutting. I'm gonna make it easier. So instead of cutting every strip individually, I'm gonna fold my paper in the same direction that I want the cut to go. And then I'm going to fold it again. It doesn't have to be perfect. Confetti is not perfect. Confetti is fun. Okay, and I'm gonna fold it one more time, just for fun. Okay, so now I have a long skinny noodle of paper. And I'm going to cut all down the length of that. It doesn't have to be perfect. We are not machines. It can be a straight line if you want, or it can be a weird woobly line. Okay, look. Long strips, and more long strips, and more long strips. Just from folding it a few times. I only had to cut it once. Okay. So let's see what we have. Ooh, that's fun. And this one's fun because it's kind of wider at this base and skinnier at this one. And you'll see that in the middle we have all of that beautiful painting and a little bit of each color and pattern on it as well. All right, so if you want to make a really tight curly Q, then you can use a tool like I have my wooden dowel right here. You can use a pencil, you can use a spatula, you can use whatever you have on hand that is round. And I'm going to start with my painted side down on the table. I'm going to put my dowel rod at the very end of the strip, and I have this little extra triangle of paper right here. So I'm just bending it up so that it gets kind of wrapped up together. You'll see what I mean. And now I'm just going to pinch down and roll it up. See, and this is gonna give us a much tighter curly Q than if we had done it by hand. Good confetti has a mix of both. It has big shapes and little shapes. Really good artwork follows this principle. Good artwork has big shapes, little shapes, and medium-sized shapes. And good artwork has a variety of different types of mark making and colors. Okay, and so now I have a curly Q. And I can cut it up into smaller curly Qs. And I can even, if I want to save some time and curl a whole bunch of paper at once but then still have it in small pieces, I can put my scissors up inside the curly Q and cut it all at once. So it makes lots of smaller curled pieces of paper. All right. Now I will tell you, I'm going to be perfectly frank with you, this paper isn't fully dry yet, so it's not curling as powerfully as it could. So I'm going to show you what it looks like with this paper because it's fully dry. You can see it's already kind of curly, right? All right, so I'm going to cut a strip of this. I love the sound of cutting paper. So fun. Okay, so I have my strip. I'm gonna put it pattern side down. And I'm going to wrap it with this dowel. Sometimes things happen. Sometimes our curls come undone. You just gotta keep going. Okay. Doop, doop, doop. Rolling, 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 rolling. Just going with what the paper wants to do. Oh my goodness. It also kind of looks like an ice cream cone. So fun. All right, and now I'm gonna kind of pull it. I'm like, what am I doing here? I'm rotating my hands in the direction of the curl so that I give it a really good squeeze into place, if that makes sense. I'm putting lots of tension on the paper so that it takes that curl, so that it knows who's boss. Ah! And now I have more tight curls. And again, I can cut it however I want. It doesn't have to be a straight across cut. It can be a diagonal cut. Woof, goodness. And all of these things start layering together. See, look, we already have a start to some good confetti. Now, I'm gonna pull in some of this fun stuff. Again, this was from a gift basket from long ago. It has sprinkles on it. Good confetti needs something shiny in it sometimes. So I'm going to take this and cut it into bits. And because I want it to keep looking like sprinkles like this, I think I'm just gonna cut it at random. By the way, for any of my grown-ups who might have early learners in their house, who might have, you know, like 3 and 4-year-olds who are learning how to use scissors, if you set them up at, you know, the kitchen table with a big bowl full of fabric scraps and some safety scissors and tell them to make confetti, it's a perfect way for them to practice their scissor skills. And then you get to toss confetti in celebration afterward. It's the best. So that's kind of a pro tip from me to you. Confetti is very helpful as a learning skill too. You'll notice that as I'm cutting, I am rotating my paper around. Well, it's not really paper, it's plastic, and I am keeping my scissors in the same position so that I don't accidentally cut my fingers. But I am rotating my plastic around so that I get all sorts of different shapes. I have variety. That is another key to good art, variety. Speaking of variety, I'm gonna fold another one of my painted papers up again, and instead of trying to get it to hold a curl, because it's just not wanting to do that today as well, I am going to cut it also in some strips and some triangles and big pieces and small pieces. Again, so that I can get lots of variety. I'm just going to do a little bit of folded cutting on this, and then we can move on to making our big bag of confetti, okay? Because I think we're about to have enough. Okay, so this is from my tissue paper that I saved from one of the last presents that I received. And it has such a lovely soft texture. So I have cut this strip, and now I'm going to fold it on itself. And then I'm gonna fold it again. And then I'm gonna fold it again, because why not? And let's do one more time. So it's this little bitty packet now. And now, again, very carefully with my scissors so that I don't cut the tips of my fingers, I'm going to cut designs into the folded edges of my tissue paper. The fun part of doing this is, first of all, you get confetti byproduct right here very easily. but it's also going to make a fun design, kind of surprise design in our bigger piece of paper. It is important to note that you should not cut absolutely all of this. You still need to make some areas where the paper is hanging onto itself, otherwise you're just gonna make a whole bunch of teeny tiny confetti, and that may be what you want, and that is fine. But you can also end up, it's kind of like cutting snowflakes in winter. You can end up with some big pieces like this. And so I'm going to snip them apart in different areas. And the fun part about this type of confetti is that when I toss it in the air, it'll take a while to flutter down. It catches the air nicely. Okay, now I'm gonna deal with my space a little bit, and then we'll come back and make our final bag of confetti. Okay, so now we've made a whole big pile of confetti, and it's time to package it up. You don't want loose confetti just hanging out all over your house. You need to put it in a bag. You need to put it in some sort of container, either so that you can save it for a rainy day, or so you can throw it right away. I mean, who doesn't want to throw it right away, right? So again, use whatever you have in your house. You might have some paper bags for leftover for like school lunches or things like that. Paper bags are perfect, and you can even decorate the outside of them. I like to repurpose materials. I don't like letting things go to waste, and so I'm going to reuse this bag that I got a present in as well. And so now I'm gonna layer things in a little bit and make them look fun. And so I'm going to first just literally take a handful of whatever I made and drop it directly in there and see how it lays. Okay, I'm going to add in a little bit of yellow filler because I want a little more yellow in this. So I'm just going to take some of my crepe paper and cut it into strips really quick and crumple it up a little bit and throw it inside. Perfect. Okay. And I'm just gonna keep filling her up. This is fun to do anytime. I mean, so, and every now and then I'm gonna stop and look and think, oh, I'm seeing a little too many polka dots in one spot, so I need to put in some of this other kind of paper right here. Good. And y'all know how to fill a bag full of things. And I'm just gonna crunch it down in there really good so that I can fit every last bit of this hard-earned confetti inside. Okay. Now, I'm also gonna put in my little special sewn confettis. I'm gonna put them in the, let's see, do I like it in the top? No, I think I'm gonna put them in the middle as a surprise. That's always fun. So I'm gonna bury it a little bit so that people don't know it's in there. It's like a little present just for them. All right, so now I have this bag. And so I need to tie it up, right? You might use some yarn. I have some yarn like this. I'm actually gonna use a little more of this weird woobly pink stuff. So I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of equal size. And I'm going to bunch my bag up like so. And then I'm gonna wrap it around and tie it in another one of those overhand knots. So it crosses over and then you pull through. Look at that, it's a little bag of handmade joy. I love it. All right, now, here's the thing. You can use this in a lot of different ways. You can put it on your shelf so that whenever you see it, you can remember what you did today, and it can give you a little spark of joy. You can immediately untie it and toss it in the air. You can make one for every member of your family or for all of your friends, and you can all throw them at the same time. Just remember, if you're gonna toss this in the air, wherever you are, you have to plan to pick it up too. That's the thing. You can't just toss it and leave it. You gotta toss it and then vacuum or sweep okay? That is the deal we're making today. This is a really fun practice that I have enjoyed doing very much in my artistic practice and doing out in the community whenever I do collaborative installations. There is just something so joyful about confetti. It makes me feel like a kid again. And I think there's never a wrong time to celebrate being together with friends and being together in community with one another. And so if you have some extra materials lying around and you are looking to have a little fun, this might just be your way to do it. Thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful day. I hope to see y'all again soon.